Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to PCM23 Lions episode number 4. Let's get on with the action here already. Smallest objective of the year, but because there are so few that we can succeed at, we need all the help we can get, especially with the theoretical that we're not going to have national championships to boost us. We might. I'm hoping. But anticipating that we might not, we'll see if we can score a top 10 today. 31k in this half-star objective. Rigora, -5. Mansuria, -3 today. Rigora might not be with us much longer. This is what the finish looks like. You have a little hill there. It drops down. And then we have another little hill. The sprint point that we have at the top of this one is also the finish line. So yeah, there's the downhill. Here is the uphill. It's a punchy finish, not a sprint finish. That's 1k from the top. And you can see how we are going up, up, up we go. Around that corner, and that is the finish line. Rigora does just make it through there, but he is now completely out of energy, so we will go ahead and use his gel now, see if he can't hang on a little bit longer. Mansoria and his -3 also not doing terribly well. 21k to go now. Still 111 in the peloton and still a breakaway. Now starting to shrink in size. It's down to 8 riders. Their gap at a minute 30 with 18k is not a given that they will be caught. Already back to this. It's the penultimate time. There's the guys right at the top of the first of the 2 hills. Let's take a second here, sorry, and up the effort of the group because holding position is going to matter over these 2. And we're definitely looking not at the sprinters, but at this being a day for the punchers. Even though the profile suggests sprinters, I think the punchers are going to be much better for that overall sense. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I already gelled up for you, but apparently not. Ayab as well. 1 lap to go. 1 lap to go. Front group is down to 6 and shrinking, now down to 5. Also down to about 45 seconds. So we gained a lot of ground over that double hill sequence. But now with 10k to go, it's time to set ourselves up. He's looking pretty okay. And I'm no longer thinking about sprint. I'm thinking about how punchy they are. I think we're looking somewhere between medium mountain and hills for this one. Probably hills by the end. Abdia is 70 plus. That's amazing for us. That is so unexpected. Gel. Sorry, try to hold on to the back as best you can before you get dropped. Ayab pulling us out front, setting us up. 9k to go. Down to 85 riders. Ayab struggling to kind of get through. In fact, never even did get through. Aitza. Take it over. Inside 8k. Last 4 riders. 7k. Abdia. Struggling to get through. Finally does. Just as Baitza brings us out front. Last 3 riders at the front. Final 5k. Gel for Davids. Baitza out of the red bar, but he's still got a little yellow. As we approach the hill. Now we have Zerai to take over. Baitza will try to follow behind. Final gel. Final 3 riders. And Zerai now at the head of the field with Vanghela trying to attack. And we've split the field. We have split the field. Our chances of a top 10 now looking pretty dang good. 16 seconds ahead as we approach the base of the final climb and the finish line. Zerai leading it out. Gets us inside 1k, and Davids will now sprint the final kilometer. Davids hits the top. Abdia will now sprint over the top. Are you kidding me? We're going to get a win this year! And it's a 1-2 finish. Davids, Abdia. Zerai almost hangs on. We just got to win. South Africa, Davids. Yes. Small race. It's a small race. And it's a half-star objective. But we pull off the miracle. Now's a good time to leave that like on the video. Yeah. What? So it's time for a big check-in. Big check-in on our scouting to see how we're doing. Have we found anything? Well, the answer is yes. Yes, we have. A couple decent prospects coming up through Eritrea. So Emmanuel Osman, we're at an 8 right now on terms of detection. So we're close to having everything we need. For now, we don't know a ton other than it looks like we've got a pretty solid puncher, but supposedly a climber as well, which would obviously be good territory for us. He's already in the low 60s, which already matches him with a lot of our team members, though really only 1.5 stars. But 4-star potential is significant, as there's not a whole lot of 4-star or better potential in the area. And at Continental Pro, I can find a lot of victories with 4-star riders. Now, right now we haven't locked anything in yet, but we've got a 4.5-star loose potential also on Johannes Dalek. Wow, they're hitting me hard with the most difficult to pronounce names. I'm looking forward to trying to say that one. At worst, he's going to be 4 stars. At best, he's going to be 5 stars. It usually only goes up or down by about half a star. So that's fantastic. And we're talking about somebody who's very multifaceted, time trialing mountain and hills, which means we can get him into minor stage races at Continental or Continental Pro level and be quite competitive. And if we're throwing in a flat rating, he's going to require less and less support to find success, which means through the quick sim, he can be successful. One of the key things that I am looking at when I go through my scouting is I do one very key filter, and that key filter is age 18. Now, for those of you who have played the game, scouting goes 16, 17, 18. You have young riders that are out there and available. However, the only riders that you can sign are 18 and over. Even with your youth team, if you develop a U23 team, it's the 18-year-olds that you can sign. The 16, 17-year-olds, you can see them in the database, and then the next year, you might see them again. You might not, but you're going to have to re-scout them anyway. And, big and, they might not be there. So looking at 16 and 17-year-olds is a waste of time, in my humble opinion. I only look at the 18-year-olds, the ones that can be signed this year going forward. When I'm scouting, one of the key areas that I look at is level of detection, because it's going to take that higher level of detection to lock in what that potential is and know more about the rider. And I don't necessarily care what their qualities are when I'm locking that in. I am definitely looking for higher potential riders. So getting that higher level, that last levels of detection is important. But as I'm going through and deciding, especially those that are only at early discovery, stage 1, stage 2 type levels, the big thing that I'm looking at for them, and why I'm going to add observations to certain riders, which is going to help with the detection happening a little bit faster, is this. Somebody who is multifaceted, who does a lot of things, as long as they have some potential, they are going to have a good spread on their web. And those are the kind of riders that I want to get my hands on. I want to get somebody who's an amazing sprinter, but I want to get somebody who's going to do a lot of things. They're going to win on a climb, they're going to win on the cobbles, and they're going to win with a sprint. It takes high potential, but it also takes a diversity of qualities. I prefer not to target the sprint only, or the time trial only, or the Parador only. So as I'm making selections, as I want to get to know more about riders, I begin with the ones that do the most things and the most useful things. I want guys that can climb. I want guys that can handle cobbles. I want guys that can sprint, and generally in that order. I care less about a flat rating. I'll never look in deeper to this rider, as that's all he does. That's somebody who's going to be a Parador. This is somebody who's only going to sprint. possible he's going to be fantastic. But if he survives this phase and he makes it into the database proper, later on, I'll search through riders and I'll see this guy. And if he's going to be a six-star sprint prospect, harder to say than you would think, I'll find him and I'll sign him. But for now, I'm not going to waste my valuable observations, which are minimal. I only have 2 scouts, and it takes a long time. We're talking about every couple weeks, just about, for the gap in between these observations. So helping nudge things and push things along, you're only going to do so far. And this is one of those where they offer something useful. They're coming in at a soft 3.5. Hopefully they can get to a 4, and I would sign them if they are. If they drop down to that 3 or hold at that 3.5, they're not going to end up getting signed. But you can see most of these are still soft prospects, and really only the couple better prospects are the ones we're pushing for. But here we got a 3.5. That's Hills and Time Trial. Not interesting enough. Hills and Cobble, just interesting enough. And for the time being, I'm not worried about their overall evaluation. It's their potential that I'm targeting. I'm happy to sit on somebody who's terrible now, but will be good in a couple years' time. The development of Zerai this season has been great and terrible. Here's why it's both good and bad. So he's up to 3 stars. Of a 4-star potential, he has leveled up many times this season and is growing rapidly. The good and bad of it, though. Good, mountain rating is now a 70, Hills is now a 69. One of the bad things is that the medium mountain is not leveling up with it. So either that's something in his rider profile that doesn't quite match up in terms of potential of medium mountain, and or the development in general within the game, because the medium mountain should be, give or take with the mountain and hills rating, and definitely not significantly below the other 2. While he's getting better and more competitive, he scored a top 10 in GC of a minor stage race that got us a plus. So he's done some good things. But here's the other bad part. Because of his improvement, because of his success, 3 times already this season, over the last couple of months, his dossier cost, which started at 5 points, it's now at 19. So it's costing an additional 14 points than what it was to continue to have a dossier. And we're going to get nowhere near 100% with him. It's only going to be in the yellow. I don't know how much he's going to cost, but he could be priced out of us already after 1 year at 3-star rating, which is absurd, but might be the case. It's almost the end of July. More good news, bad news. Good news, we've maintained a neutral sponsor confidence. Bad news, it's the end of July. National championships gone by, and not a 1 for any of our riders. There wasn't even a South African national championship or an Eritrean one, which we wouldn't have been competitive in those, as we have the weakest riders in those nations, but they weren't even there. So no national championships whatsoever. Not a 1 from Africa meant 0 boost, adding to our challenge, and now meaning we have to have success in sponsor races if we are going to get some progress. We do have 2 more races before the signing deadline at the end of the month for sponsors, and this is our last opportunity to do something. So we need a top 10 desperately for this race. GP Cronson, we're seeing an attack. Some of the favorites going for it right now with 35k to go. It's a little late for me to try to attack. It's probably not too late, though, to get in on whatever response that there could be to the attack. So seeing a couple guys put their foot down, and we join them to make sure that they don't get away. Now, there was a breakaway of 10. There's now 10 more riders that have attacked, so there's a total of 20 off the front. We got to be really careful here that they don't get too far away and remain in touch. Top 10 is the objective. We went full on with everyone here except for our one injured rider who's still not back. So Stedman in his place drew a -2. Everybody else had expectations of a +5. They're all on fitness peaks today. And actually we did really poor on that draw, about a -12 compared to what was expected for the day. But the entire group that's away, there's the original break. Here's the 2 groups that have attacked. And here's another chasing group that had a couple guys get away, but we're still involved in the chase right now, as we now have 27K to go in this classic. Stedman really not contributing much despite the effort we are providing. Let's go ahead and protect Zerai with Abdia. There's enough undulation here that this is not considered a sprint, even though it looks mostly flat from the profile. The undulation is short but steep enough and frequent enough that this is considered a punchy race. And speaking of, let's go ahead and start setting ourselves up for the late stages of this. 21K to go now. Make sure we're holding position. And meanwhile, Stedman is way back here because of how bad his ratings are. He's just not able to contribute anything. In fact, now he's been dropped. Just 32 in the peloton. I'm happy about that situation. And actually, another thing that I'd prefer here, let's go ahead and take these 3 guys and roll them up a bit more to hold that position. Situation is starting to change. We are down to a group of 28. We're still chasing a group that now came together. It's 8 riders. And the front group is getting closer, so it's only a minute to them. 16K. I want to put our foot down fairly soon. Stedman's gone. That's okay. He was too weak anyway. We were trying to use him up and not getting anywhere. Those guys get contact briefly, but I think 15K is a little early. We can't push max, but we can push. Those 3+5s are going to be really solid, but what do we have in terms of a sprint out of them? Probably Iob. Though Zerai, I think, looks to be the strongest in the punchiness. Mansuri or Rigora? Today, that's going to be a Rigora. Mansuri, you're up first, bud. Definitely not 99, though. Let's see if an 89 gets you out there. Now, this chase is coming pretty hard. That's putting a lot of pressure on the front. That's good. For now, we just kind of form up our train. Okay, now we want to start pushing a little bit harder as we hit the hill. That brings us out front. Puts us in control here. And now we're going to roll a little harder. 11K. Gel for Rigora. We're going to hit 99 as soon as he's out of red bar. Give Mansuri a little bit longer. In fact, he gets a little recovery with the descent. And we finally catch a group. That's the breakaway plus most of those guys that had attacked. We're down to just 2 off the front. Okay. I think we're ready to move on to Rigora. Mansuri, go ahead and follow in. 7K left. Three riders left. Out of that, this guy was able to attack. Rigora out of red bar. 4K. We need full gas 99s. So that's last 2 gels. Onto Abdia. 3K leading us out. We have not caught the front 2. It looks like we will not catch the front 2. 2.3K sprinting for Abdia. Davids. Now his sprint. We got 3 riders here and 1K to go. It is uphill. Oh, we catch the front 2. Zerai has a little bit left. Iob. Everybody sprint, actually. Let's go. Let's get in there. Let's make it 2 wins. and sweep the podium. David, Sarai, Iob. That's a top 10 right there. Man, oh man, I did not think we were in a strong enough position. I thought those front two had enough of a gap that they would hang on. We swept them up in that final kilometer quite easily. Quite easily we swept them up. Cannot believe we just pulled that off. Mansouri also 7th. Rigora also 10th. That is a massive points haul for the team in terms of our standings. But that's also a huge haul for the sponsor. Now that will guarantee that we're at least neutral. I'm not sure though that that's going to be enough to push us into the green, into an increased salary for next year. So first off, it did not. We are neutral, which means we will retain the 60K we have right now and not see an increase to 75K. Now, as disappointing as that is, considering the state of the team, we had the weakest team we could piece together for year one. A lot of that team is going to be different in year two. It's going to be a much stronger entity. We've come away with 2 victories now anyway, as we've progressed through the season and they've improved a little bit. We will find some successes next year to start improving that sponsor money. And the sponsor money right now isn't bad, considering how small the team is. We're going to be able to carry through into the next year and be okay on finances. The downside, though, we're not going to be able to spend significantly more than we are right now. Maybe we can squeeze out another, 10K or so. Zerai alone could be asking for that. For all I know, 3-star guys shouldn't be. We should be able to get him signed for maybe 4K, which would be 1.5K more than he's making. That would be realistic, but I don't know just how bad it's going to be when we go to try to sign guys because of our low reputation. Actual quality versus supply and demand. Well, here's an unexpected surprise. There was one more race sandwiched in that last few days of the month. It's a stage race, Tour of Alsace, and Mansouri has won the opening prologue. Islam Mansouri with a prologue win. That could provide us a pretty healthy bonus, and it's actually a 2-star objective to win a stage, and we've won a stage, so that's a big deal. Stage 2, Iob has gotten on the podium as well, so things are going well in this race at the moment. Iob's also going to put on the leader's jersey, even though on this current stage he only finished in 9th place, but the combination of the 3 stages adds together, put him in the race lead as of right now. This is a huge step for us as a team to be competitive on paper. And following the 5th and final stage, Iob has hung on and claimed the overall race victory. Plus, we picked up a stage win along the way. This is a huge result. I don't know if it's going to be enough to push us into the green. I would imagine it's going to be close. So we earn the success for winning a stage victory. We get a single plus for winning the overall, our 3rd plus of the entire season. Unfortunately, it made almost no difference to the evaluation. It does keep us neutral. So we will remain on the same salary next season as we have this season. But again, we will enter next season with a better team regardless. We have the worst riders we could get our hands on and a couple guys that were tolerable. Next season, no matter what happens, no matter how difficult the signings are, I will ultimately have a better team than what we had this year. But with only a single African sponsorship offer, choice is obvious. We are going to stay with Zulu Kingdom for another season on the same salary as we had. Now, as for our signings, we're going to begin our next episode with our signings, as I'm actually quite a bit over on time for this episode as it is. We'll also be reaching the end of this first season. I don't know if we'll get into the new season yet. Really, what happens after August 1st is all about those signings and then pushing forward to the next year. The only thing that we could still possibly do between now and the end of the season is have a lesser known rider, not an African rider, not an Eritrean rider, go out and win a race. that's not likely right now, as our stronger riders are from those two nations. So them winning any other races that we have invites to won't make a difference in future regen database, growth of riders. So that's essentially all we have left to do this season, is that signing special and moving forward. However, without an increase in finances, we definitely cannot afford a U23 team yet. We will eventually. Right now, we can't. So next year we'll have to continue without. So for now, it's all about those signings and then into a new year. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.